check a little Twitter out and see what's going on in Twitterland. Oh, not right now. Can't deal with that now. Let's go over to Facebook. Oh, not dealing with that right now either. Instagram. Not dealing with that today either. Guess we'll head over to porn. Okay, this better not be Positive K calling me again. This is the Junk Room Hotline. How may I help you?
Hey, Junkman, maybe you can help me. I just found a week weight in a Kenner sack. Was it a Melloway offer? I don't even remember that.
Hello.
You're not going to believe this, Junkman, but guess what I just found? Yep, a hug nut in a Kenner bag. How did it...
Just because you have a Star Wars action figure in a Kenner bag doesn't mean it was a mail away offer. Let's talk about it. What are we going to discuss today? We're going to talk Kenner, hate to say it, baggies. I hate saying that word. It's almost as bad as when I hear someone talking about a sports athlete or an actor and they refer to him as a goat. I could do a whole video of slang words that get my blood boiling, but I already done a blood boiling video earlier, so we won't get into that. Anyway, I hate the word baggy, but I have accepted that's the term that collectors use when they're talking about the clear bag that a figure was inside and then usually put inside of a mailer box and sent out to people. Now, a lot of people hit me up and they say, I got this figure in a bag. I didn't even know it was a mail away offer. Well, there was a lot of ways to get a Star Wars action figure in a baggie other than being a free figure offer. But let's start with the first figure offer, the early bird set. This was a piece of cardboard you bought in 1977 with a promise to get free figures sent to your house. And they showed up in your house in a tray inside of a baggie. So that was the first time we got to see Kenner baggies with Star Wars figures. But those were free figures, and I said we're going to talk about how you got figures in a bag besides being free figures. Probably the first thing you think of is the Star Wars Kenner playsets. You have the Cantina Adventure that came with the aliens, Blue Snaggletooth or Red Snaggletooth, both were in baggies. You didn't get both of each, you either got a red one or a blue one. If you were early, you got the blue one. And then the other aliens also in a baggie. But there were other playsets also. There was the cardboard loosely named playset Cloud City. There was the Rebel Command Center from Empire Strikes Back. And then near the end of Return of the Jedi, you had Jabba's Dungeon with some Power of the Force figures in a baggie. And there were some more here and there. I'm not going over every single one. We're just giving you some examples. So you have playsets, you have the early bird set, and of course you got the mail-aways. You got Boba Fett, Boss, Forlom, Akbar, Palpatine, Anakin. I probably left someone out, but I don't think I did. That was top of my head. If I did, I'm sorry. And no, it wasn't Yak Face. We talked about that the other day, and I did a whole video about that. Yak Face was not going to be the mail-away figure for Series 2 of Power of the Force. But let's move on. Let's talk about the most common way people got Star Wars figures that wasn't a free figure in a Kenner baggie. That was if they ordered it through a catalog company like Sears, JCPenney's, Service Merchandise, Keys. Does anyone even know Keys? I think it must have been a local thing, but I remember the commercial jingle, Keys, Catalog Showroom. I just have that stuck in my head still today. But you know these, you would get the catalog a few months before Christmas and you would go through it and circle what you wanted for Christmas. They call them catalogs or wish books. I already just called them catalogs. And if I wasn't looking at the toys I wanted for Christmas, I was looking at those hot ladies wearing their bloomers. You know what I'm talking about. It was before internet porn. So you had the catalog, and inside they sold figures, but you didn't just buy one figure and get it on the card. You had to buy them in sets. Most of the time it was probably around 3 to 4 or 5 figures, but some of them was as low as 2 figures and even got up as high as like 16 figures. And whenever you order through these catalogs, well, you probably didn't order it. You was a little kid. When your parents ordered it through these catalogs, it would take weeks or months, and you would get them inside a shipper box, and inside the figure would be inside a Kenner baggie. So there you go, a bunch of figures that wasn't Melloway figures that you got in the baggie. In fact, I think every figure can be found on a Kenner baggie. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, so you might want to let me know in the comments. Maybe not some of the Power Force figures, but I believe all the figures can be found on a Kenner baggie. If not, let me know in the comments. And another way to get some of these Kenner figures in a bag was when Kenner had too much overstock of vehicles like a Land Speeder, a TIE Fighter, Snow Speeder, or whatever. Maybe even some mini rigs. I know what you're thinking. You see, Junkman ships didn't come with figures. Well, at first they didn't, but when they had too much stock and it wasn't selling well, what did Kenner do? Slap a sticker on the box to let kids know they now had 2 figures inside. And they would put a figure in a Kenner bag, slip it into the box, and there, kids have some Kenner figures. Kenner, that's hard to say. Kids had Star Wars figures in the Kenner bag. And again, it wasn't just that. Kenner would even send boxes to the stores of figures, sometimes 200 to a box of figures just in a bag. Now, we're not really sure why these were sent out to retailers and other places. It was probably maybe the store was doing a grand opening or some kind of celebration and Kenner wanted to throw them out, give them some free figures. Not 100% sure on that. And then, of course, you have sales and samples. Some of them was kept in bags. And some figures, like 3PO with removable limbs, was given away at the 1982 Toy Fair. Now, let me stop to talk about this. 3PO with removable arms and legs is a common figure. We all know that, right? I did a whole video about how rare it was to find that common figure on a 45 back card. Yeah, I could not believe the comments. People was like, I had that figure when I was a kid. My friend had that figure as a kid. Somehow my friend worked at Kenner and he got that figure. The figure, yeah, you got the figure. Most people did. It was released between 1982 and 1984. It's a common figure. Most people had that figure. So if you watch that video, let me clear it up. 3PO with the removable arms and legs is a common figure. I'm talking about 45 back card. Now let's get back talking about Star Wars baggies. Believe it or not, there's not just one bag that was used for these figures. I mean, we're talking lots and lots of different combinations of this bag. If I'm right, somewhere around 25 different bags. You have the words made in Hong Kong written horizontally in white or black. You even have some with it written in blue. You have blue text that says General Mills. You have some that have a blue Kenner logo that says made in China. Then you have some that say made in Taiwan. Some that said made in Mexico. You also have heat seal bags. Then bags that were sealed with tape. And believe it or not, there's 2 different types of tape used. You have the clear tape and a tan color tape. And then even the bags themselves are different. You have what collectors call a soft bag and what collectors call the crispy bag. And all these figures and all these different bags, believe it or not, some figures are even hard to find in the bag. And some are very common. Any Melloway figure, especially when you get later into Return of the Jedi, they're pretty easy to find in a bag. And then you have some really, really rare ones to find in a bag, like a small-headed Han Solo. Good luck finding that. And yes, believe it or not, people send off bag figures to get graded. I know, I'm sorry, but I wish I could sit here and tell you that that's not true. That doesn't happen. No one pays to get a bag figure graded and then sealed in the glass case. But I mean, we're in an era where people pay to get VHS tapes graded. So what do you expect? If there's a company out there willing to take your money, someone will send them their money to get something graded. Why did Kenner even use these baggies? Well, when they were shipping sample figures or test figures or whatever from the manufacturer back to Kenner, and then Kenner would take a figure and show it to the development team or maybe the engineers, they had to keep track of these figures and what weapons they came with, so they would put them in little bags. Brilliant, right? Put them in the bag, seal it up, tape it, or heat seal it, ship it off to Kenner, or Kenner looks at it and say, let's go show Steve down in the engineering room. You don't want to lose the weapons or whatever little accessory it comes with. And when Kenner got ready to send off the early bird figures, what did they do? Slapped them in the bag, and the rest was history. But that's a look at why you have an action figure in the Kenner baggie that wasn't a Melloway figure. Baggies. Hate that name, don't you? I just hate saying it. Now I'm going to go eat a bar of soap so my mouth doesn't feel so nasty. As always, thumb up if you like my content, subscribe to the channel, and we'll talk again soon.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.